Great. Looks like we're official. All right, so welcome everyone. This is the May 22nd meeting of the Manhattan Community Board Bylaws Task Force. And we are the lucky members who are tasked with reviewing and updating the bylaws of Manhattan Community Board 4. We're meeting today via Zoom, as that is still permitted pursuant to the most recent laws. And frankly, Jesse, I've a little bit lost track, but anyway, I think they've been extended at least another month. And this is how we're meeting today. Great. They've been extended one more month. So we are meeting here today, and a link is available for anyone who's interested in following along with us as we are looking at a Google Doc where we have been starting to incorporate the most recent changes to the last version of our bylaws. So again, I'm Katie Stokes. I am one of the co-chairs. I'll turn it over to my other co-chair in just a sec. And then why don't we go around after that and just say what roles we have on Manhattan Community Board 4 and just introduce ourselves quickly. So I'm the co-chair of this bylaws task force, and I also serve on the Arts, Cultural and Education Committee, as well as the Health, Housing and Human Services Committee. All right, over to you, Bob.
Okay, I'm Bob Benfato. I'm the co-chair for the Bylaws Task Force. I'm a public member. I sit as a public member on the Clinton Hell's Kitchen Land Use Committee. And let's move on to the next person. Frank?
Hi, I'm Frank Hall-Zubiak. I'm co-chair of the Business Licenses and Permits Committee, and serve with Bob on the Chelsea Hell's Kitchen Land Use Committee.
Candace?
Candace Hewitt. Can you guys hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Candace Hewitt. I'm on BLP and Waterfront, public or community board member.
Roberta?
Hi, Roberta Barnett. I am, in addition to serving on this task force, a member of Housing, Health and Human Services and the Waterfront Parks and Environment Committee.
Great. Alice?
Hi, Alice Wong, CP4 board member, and I serve on the Waterfront and the Transportation Committees.
Awesome. And Bert?
I am Bert Lasman. I'm co-chair of the Business License Permits Committee, and I sit on the Chelsea Land Use Committee.
Yay. Okay. I think that's all of us. I don't think there's anybody attending, not on camera. Great. So I know we had started talking just a smidge about the fact that what we did last week was that Roberta put together the last version of the bylaws, sort of the most current approved version. She put them into a Google Doc and then circulated it around to us last week so that we could begin to put some comments in and some proposed edits. I know I saw some proposed edits from Candace and from Frank and Wendy and me. Roberta, had you put any in?
I was a little bit late on that. There are some in, they're very minor, and if I have missed something, please let me know and I will add that in.
Mine are in now, but they were late.
Okay. And I had just added some more this afternoon, so we can probably all sort of find them within. And then just as a quick review, what we had talked about doing is sort of starting with this version, having a version that we can all comment on, taking a look at the comments so far. Let's talk it through today before 5. And then, our exec meets this evening. I will report out to them sort of where we're at. The goal right now is for us to have, if possible, fingers crossed, our hope is to have a version that we have all agreed to on this task force that then we can propose to the executive committee before or at their meeting at the end of June, And then if the executive committee accepts our recommended version, then they would circulate it out to the entire full board and give them 30 days to review it, so that then at our full board meeting at the end of July, people could vote on whether or not they approve our recommended new version. So again, our goal right now is to try and see if we can have a full updated version ready to submit to our full board by the end of June. And Jesse, can you remind us what that date is of full board? I'm sorry, of the executive committee at the end of June? Oh, you're talking to yourself.
Sorry.
June 26th.
The 26th. Yeah.
Okay. And that would still give us 30 days, right? I think you were going to double check that.
By like a day.
Well,
So
we don't need
that
more
is-
than 30 days for
Yeah,
MCB.
so-
30 is 30.
yeah. So as long as we can get it out of exec with a vote on, then I think we're fine.
When
Okay.
is our full board meeting in the summer? What day is that?
That's the last, it's always the last Wednesday of the month, which is the 26th.
26th of July we're talking then,
Yeah.
yeah? Okay.
That gets you 30 days.
Yep.
And then actually, just to be super clear, I think, Jesse, you had told us that we would actually need it a few days before exec to give it to them for time to review.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, like normally, notwithstanding this exec, because I sent you guys a bunch, everybody who's on exec on this committee, we got sent a bunch of letters at
Yeah.
9 o'clock this morning and then again at 12. Yeah, so really, if it's the 26th, if we could get it to them by the 23rd,
Okay.
so they
Got
can begin to review it, would be
Okay.
preferable.
All right.
But
Fair enough. So then maybe what we'll aim for, team, just thinking things through here a little bit so that we can be sure about our calendar before we have to hop off, is that we're going to talk through this version today. I think that our next meeting should be 2 weeks from now on Monday, June 5th. And then we could meet again and hopefully like for any final edits and discussion, and then we could vote ourselves on Monday, June 19th on a final version. And then we could get it, out that week to exec by the end of the week on the 23rd. Is there anybody on this call right now who couldn't make those meetings on June 5th and June 19th?
Nope. All good.
Yeah, I have another board meeting on June 5th at 4. But I can always pass on any comments I have to you in
Okay.
advance.
Mhm.
yeah, I think that the
Now, June 19th is the holiday.
Yeah, that was what I was going to point out. I
Oh.
don't know if the office is open or
That's right, Juneteenth.
if we'd want
yeah,
to.
it's not.
Oh, right.
it's not.
And I also don't know I don't know if this would happen virtually. I don't actually know when the mayor extended the order to.
Okay, fair enough. And you're right, we shouldn't be doing it on a holiday, and I apologize for goofing that up. So maybe could we do it on just like a week apart again? Can we do it the 5th and the 12th?
That keeps you within the
fine.
mayor's EO, so that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, good. All right, well, look at that. An extra bonus. Okay, so we will plan on the 5th and the 12th. And Frank, you said you might not be able to make the 5th, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, but everybody else, 4 o'clock on the 5th works?
Yeah.
Okay, so then Jesse, can you put that into the calendar for us?
At 4, okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, for the 5th and the 12th. Marvelous. Okay, now with that, can everybody go ahead and maybe switch your look at the Google Doc? And by the way, I think if I'm looking at the Google Doc, I may not be able to see you all, but don't take offense.
Does one of us want to share the Google Docs, or do we not want to put that on the?
Sure. Shall we do that?
That'd be easier.
Okay.
You can share it, Katie, if you have it up.
I have it in front of me. Okay, let me, hold on.
Yeah. I can do it too if you want.
And if I share it, then I'll be able to scroll through it right on the screen.
Yeah, you would be in
Yes.
control.
You'll be in control if you
Okay,
share.
then, all right, team, let's wish me luck here. I'm gonna share my screen. Uh-huh.
I hope this doesn't bring any back traumatic experiences for Roberta and Katie.
It's
Google
screen
Doc and-
recording. Actually, it's asking me for, I don't know, all sorts of. Actually, it's asking me for all sorts of permissions and passwords. I'm sorry, can somebody else do it?
Can you see what I?
No, you got it.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so I have this open. Okay, everything's on do not disturb. So we can scroll up here.
Does that mean that we're not going to be seeing any of your text messages or something?
My text messages, my work email. we don't want this.
Where's the fun?
Where is the fun? That would be my fear. Anyway, immaterial. We can start with. Did you want to start with the beginning, or did you have a particular way you wanted to go through the document, Katie?
Actually, I think we should go ahead and start with the beginning. And, and some of these are just, little typos or whatever, which is, I think, no big deal. But I think Wendy raises a really good point in her comment up on the first page. If you go up a little bit, Roberta, where she's just talking about the gender references, that we need to be consistent and we need to choose whichever one we want. Thoughts, anybody?
I mean, we can always just go he, she, they, or we could use the, singular as vernacularly used they for everything, just whichever.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a preference here.
Oh, and I don't know if there's some sort of standardization that's going through city documents right now. Jesse, do you have a sense?
I doubt.
I do not.
Okay.
I think it would not be coordinated between different agencies and or legislative or executive branch. So
okay, so then what if we how do people feel about using the he, she, they?
I agree.
I like it
All right.
also.
You want to put that in there, Roberta? That will go with he, she, they.
Okay.
Why can it be she, he, they? I'm just kidding.
Now you're just messing with us.
I know.
Great. Yeah, and then Jesse, actually, if you look at the Article 1, that's where I think we were suggesting adding hyperlinks to the charter and the open meetings law, that sort of thing. But then can we scroll down? I think, Roberta, yeah, I don't think there was much that's controversial or anything. And then, in fact, you can see at the top of page 2, I added the language we talked about, which is just that, this is for illustrative purposes only. And then in paragraph F, we said hyperlinks, so that paragraph headings and hyperlinks aren't, they're just for convenience. Why don't we keep scrolling down, Roberta? And let's see, because I think, yeah, I don't think there's anything particularly interesting. Actually, this is perfect where you are right now. Paragraph 3 here, as you can see, this is about public statements. I would encourage people to take a look at this language because we had talked about wanting to make sure that we included social media. I don't know if we need to revise this language some more. Obviously, people can put whatever they want to, statements on their own social media. But what we're trying to make clear here is that if you're speaking as a representative of the community board, then these are the rules that apply. And I think that this is what we had agreed to earlier. And that you basically need the chairperson's approval.
I like that. It covers it.
Good.
How would the individual get approval by the chairperson? They will ask in advance, right?
Yep. And in fact, I think it's a little bit above this one where it says basically the chairperson is the only one who can sort of speak unless, or maybe it's actually under the definition of chairperson. I can't remember. But there is a section somewhere that basically says the chairperson is the only voice unless they've nominated or identified somebody else to do it.
Okay, great.
Right. So we can, yeah, double check that. Is it here? Creation, no. Committee, public, no, I think it may be, right? We all start to lose our minds a little bit as to what's
Yeah,
where.
it's in there. I know it's in there.
Yeah, I remember seeing it earlier. Okay, so back to where we were. Okay, we'll try not to jump around so much. Okay, so we were talking about the public statements, and then oh, and then we'd also gotten to the point where, remember the under paragraph 5, this is the thing about you can't have business cards or stationery or electronic signatures. And we talked about, you know, that when we are doing board business, so for example, when Roberta and I are asking somebody for a copy of their comments for our minutes, we do put below our signature that we're, you know, one of the co-secretaries of the board. So I added language here that just said that you can use an electronic signature if you are a board member performing board business. Now, I don't know if somebody thinks, you know, that could be abused at some point. Somebody could say, oh, well, I was performing board business, so that's why I reached out to the mayor and asked whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're fine. I mean, because you have to identify yourself if you're reaching out. You guys don't have city government emails, so you have to identify yourself. So there's a difference between that and then just like putting that on every email you send out.
Yeah.
As if it's, you know, means something, you know, so that's fine.
Okay. All right. And then this next one, Jesse, we had talked about, remember, this is where we were talking about favors or special privileges, as it's called.
Are we number 6? We're number 6.
Yeah. And so
yeah, I sent that around. It's $50.
oh, sorry, I missed it.
Yep, I can get it to you again.
Yeah, it's $50.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend here? Maybe Bob, I don't know if who has an idea, like, should we continue to, like, should we reference the rule? Should we call it token value? Should we say $50 or whatever? You know, like, I don't know what.
I'm happy to put $50 because then it just answers everybody's.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, because I get a lot of questions from folks who are wanting to give us stuff. And it's like they have to go to explain it. So I can just be like, here's our bylaws. So I'm fine. Yeah.
Right.
Jesse, has that number ever changed?
Not in a while.
Or Bob, do you remember it changing?
Yeah, not in a while.
Not in a long time.
Because I was thinking if we keep, you know, putting in a number and then 2 years later, because of inflation, they make it 75 or something.
I don't think they're looking. It's going to take a long time for the whatever.
Okay, I'm just
in the economy today.
All right.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then let's leave it at $50. It sounds like, okay, great.
Right. I had a question here, and maybe this comes up elsewhere. I seem to recall reading somewhere that this sort of special treatment or ever has to be something, you know, not otherwise available to the general public or, you know, portions of the public or something like that.
So give me an example.
Okay,
of
here's an example.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't get discounts at restaurants. However, I subscribe to a bunch of off-Broadway theaters where restaurants give subscribers, you know, 20% off dinner if you show you're a subscriber. So, you know, how does that work for me? In other words, I'm entitled to the discount irrespective of my service on the community board, but it also could look like, I'm getting it because I'm on the community board.
I believe that at least the state law indicates that if you have some other, prior relationship with an individual or with an organization, that would be, the gift limit would not apply in the same manner.
Right. And I think someone on one of these meetings brought up the other example, like if a bartender seems to be giving everyone a free drink after 3 drinks, it wouldn't apply either.
Yeah.
That's what that was me, Frank.
Right. And that's why I always understood it, but I don't know if we need to put it in here or if the.
Actually, I think, Frank, I think it's a really good idea. Yeah, that we should sort of clarify here.
That the person is not being treated any differently than anyone else at the theater or at the bar or at the restaurant, or, if it's the normal practice, you're not getting that free drink, the third one or the second one, whatever, because you're on the community board. Everybody at the bar who knows the bartender gets it.
Right. So I think the language might be something like similarly situated members of the public or something like that, because a lot of these, not everyone gets them. It's some portion of the public.
You could also just indicate unless otherwise allowed under state ethics laws. I don't know, or city or state ethics laws. Yeah. This way, if it gets updated, and also this way we don't have to,
you're talking about two things here. You're talking about pre-existing relationships also, which is separate than getting a special.
I thought we were also going to link or provide a hyperlink to reference whatever the current retail value token value was going to be as well.
Well, we're actually now specifically putting in the amount, $50. We're taking out the language token value.
Right, but I thought we were thinking about putting a hyperlink into whatever the policy is that we're referencing, in addition to saying whatever amount it is. So in case it changes, we were going to put that provision in.
Yeah, except I think, Jesse, am I right that you were saying that it's probably not going to change for the next 100 years, so that's not one that we have to keep current on?
It probably won't change for a while.
And
they don't care that the $50 is becoming less. Doesn't matter.
And by indicating unless otherwise allowed under city or state ethics rules, if the ethics policies were to change for the city or the state, and suddenly, it's $53, it should be, and it is ultimately allowable under those policies, it should now be captured by the change in language here.
Oh, Now,
hold
on, but Bob, or no, was it? But you said we're actually looking at two things here. You made a good.
You're looking at pre-existing relationship is one thing. I have a friend who later became a lobbyist, but I knew him for many years. He and I can go out drinking or have dinner together, and it doesn't matter that he's a lobbyist.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think the language, unless otherwise allowed under city or state ethics rules, is potentially useful, because it hopefully captures the exception, the pre-existing relationship exception, as well as the exception for individuals who are receiving something that is available to, the public, and is not based on the specific relationship they have with the community board.
But I'm wondering, is there any downside to specifically referencing pre-existing relationships?
Well, then people are going to ask, what's a pre-existing relationship?
Yeah, I think we're going to get into very muddy waters.
Fair enough.
You're going to go down a rabbit hole where we start to come up with every single example and then think, well, it wouldn't apply. We should just do that. That's Jesse's job if someone violates the rule, to figure out, does this scenario violate the rule?
Yeah. Okay. So
anything you can't take over $50.
Okay. So do we feel like this pretty much captures what we're looking for here at the moment?
I like it.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I guess, Alice, to your point, that if we come up with like a link to the city and state ethics rules, but that might be another whole just can of worms trying to capture all of the ethics rules to link them to.
You'd probably have to connect the COIB, the Conflict of Interest Board, but then that link's going to take you to hundreds of pages of rules, and
Yeah.
I don't know how useful that is. I think you're on mute, Frank.
No, I was just hesitating, waiting to go down. I don't mean to get into wordsmithing, but would it be clearer if that unless clause is at the start of the paragraph? Because there are a bunch of, now.
Oh, yeah. Great idea. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. And Frank, it's never a bad idea to wordsmith. So good suggestion. Thank you.
Does read better.
Okay. So let's leave that there for the moment and then go on to the next page.
Excused absences.
I think again that this is what we had discussed, which is, that it's supposed to be limited, but I think we'd said that it should also be somewhat at the discretion of the chair of the board in connection with consultation with the borough president's office. And for some reason, I added 2 periods. I don't know why. But let me just and just to be clear, so the second sentence, it had originally said that no leave of absence would ever be granted.
Which wasn't true.
Exactly. That was my thought. So that's why I thought we should just be clear that it's in very limited circumstances. And
I
then
think it makes sense. It reads fine.
And then up above, it actually doesn't refer to, for people missing a board meeting, it doesn't refer to discretion of the chair. But I think it's sort of assumed, right, that it'll be limited, including those reasons. But like the chair could say, all right, whatever. If your kid is graduating from college, go for it, or whatever. Any thoughts about this language? Does it capture what we were talking about?
My only comment is that it doesn't quite track the, new city and state laws about who can attend virtually. I don't think they're inconsistent, but I don't know if anyone's looked at the city law structure, but it basically says everyone has to attend in person unless you have extraordinary circumstances, which are then defined as disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor. So Jesse, help me with this, but as I read this, everyone's got to be in person unless you satisfy the extraordinary circumstances.
Yes.
But
And
Frank,
if you don't, you're not even counted, appearing virtually.
but wait, if you're at a meeting virtually, you're in attendance.
No, according to this, and Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong,
Well,
the law says members shall be present physically at the meeting unless such member is unable to be present due to extraordinary circumstances.
Yes.
I'm also
Well-
wondering if there's
Oh,
a difference between absence and quorum, like if there's a delta there.
There is, but you can count for quorum if you are not present in person, as long as you have a disability. But it's a little broader to be in attendance, but you still need extraordinary circumstances to be counted as in attendance if you're attending virtually.
Frank is not wrong, but I mean, I just know what's going to happen, out there once they start is that we're gonna be, dialing for quorum. And I don't know if organizations will be considering people who are don't have an extraordinary circumstances, but are present virtually at a meeting that there is a quorum at, so technically the meeting can occur and be voted on, would be disregarded or not. And I don't see community boards doing that. So I don't know how we want to word it, but
Wait, Jesse, can you say, I don't see the community board doing that in a single sentence, like what the subject and the
I don't
are?
see us getting a quorum, right? Let's say tonight we have exec. We get a quorum, in-person quorum. We officially can hold a meeting, to bring the meeting to order. We start it. Whether the people on screen or not, all meet the extraordinary circumstance situation will not matter. I'm not saying like that is a definitive fact. I'm just saying I think that's what's going to happen. So we're not going to get into like someone calling in saying, "Oh, I just couldn't make it, but it's not because of a disability," and us saying, "Well, you can't now vote. You're not participating in the meeting." I just don't see that happening. I don't. I think people would kind of lose their, it'd be a lot more problematic.
Does that work with the city law and the state open meetings law to grant a more broad ability to participate virtually?
You mean if someone called us on it?
I mean,
Right?
sure.
I mean, like that's. I mean, if we took a vote and the vote was whatever, and someone wanted to say, "Well, actually, no, that wasn't the vote because two of those people calling in didn't have an extreme disability or an extraordinary circumstance." Technically, those two people, right? Their vote would not count.
Jesse, the city is currently doing a pilot program for remote work, or at least a work policy that will allow you the opportunity to work from home on certain days. Would that have any effect on us as a community board then?
Not on you guys. It might have an effect on me, but it's not going to have an effect on you guys because you guys are ruled by the open meetings law and the Committee on Open Government.
Exactly. So I feel that because we don't have a hybrid work policy available to us, can we just, and I hate to say this, can we just link it back to whatever the current policy is at that time? Of whatever the external circumstances may be, whatever the excuse versus the absence to find, that we can link back to the current policy of the open meeting regulation?
But I think our concern, Alice, or at least, and I may be wrong, but I think our concern at the moment is that actually we are troubled by the current version of the open meeting law that suggests pretty limited circumstances for somebody to be absent and to still be able to participate remotely. Am I right? Did I summarize that correctly?
Well, we just said they can't participate remotely.
They will.
But yeah, I think Jesse's point is like,
It's the same. To me, in my opinion, it's the same difference as giving the co-chairs of the committee deference as to who's in attendance and who's absent and who's excused. Who's absent and who is excused. And so that's, the co-chairs for a very long time have had not since COVID started, but the co-chairs really handed in the minutes. So the co-chairs handed me minutes that said, Frank wasn't there, but he was excused. But if I wanted to, and I tracked down Frank, where were you 3 months ago? And Frank was, I was, on the beach, right? And I was like, well, that's not excused, right? But we don't do that. We just say, okay, That's the co-chair's prerogative. I think that's what's going to happen in this scenario.
Well, there's also a catch-all in the extraordinary circumstances definition that gives a little flexibility.
Right, that last one was pretty broad.
Yeah, any other significant or unexpected factor or event
Yeah.
which it precludes physical attendance.
And again, that's up to us. That's not up to.
Yeah.
I think community boards are going to be, just trying to get quorum so they can hold a meeting, and whoever shows up after that is gravy.
But
Okay.
the goal will be, so attendance could be in remote, you could account for attendance for remote purposes, but for quorum, you would have to be in person because of the city law, or
The state
you will
law.
also count, or I mean, the state law, my apologies.
Yes. Well,
And that's effectively how this regime, we will think of this regime.
No,
for the
the-
purposes of the bylaw.
yeah, the other people who count for quorum are people who are attending virtually because of disability.
And that's new.
That
Yeah, that's-
just happened on Friday, I think. But
Yeah,
that's-
they just added that where folks that are have a disability can be counted as quorum for quorum.
And do they define disability?
I mean, from my understanding, they define it as basically the same when like as a workplace disability. If you had to make an accommodation for a workplace disability.
Yeah, it goes back to section 292 of the executive law, which I don't have in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, they explained it to us at Borough Service Calendar on Friday, and that's what.
Okay, so actually let's back up a
Yeah.
couple things here. So first of all, just on the page that we're on, under excused absences. Frankly, one question that pops into my mind now, because as you were saying, Jesse, it has been our practice to allow committee co-chairs to excuse members from attendance. So not talking about quorum or anything else, but just about excused absences for a moment. I'm wondering if we should actually change the first sentence here and just say a board or committee member may be excused from attendance at board or committee meetings by the chairperson of said meeting. You know what I mean? Just, and not actually specify all this stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
You could say this stuff and then, or any other, reason that presider,
Or you-
chairperson or presiding officer of the
Or
meeting.
you could just leave it silent.
yeah, actually,
Just leave it to the chair to,
Yeah.
I've known chairs to do separate. I know one chair that would hit you. Well, he's not sick or he's not excused. I know another chair, you tell him you're going to a play, he'll put down excused.
right. So I led us down this rabbit hole, but I think I'm okay keeping excused absences the way it is now.
Yeah.
Because we're actually talking about two different things.
Right, exactly. But the only thing I would say, Frank, about the language that we have in front of us is I believe that the language we have in front of us for excused absences doesn't actually reflect what Jesse said is our practice.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything at the moment about like a committee co-chair has the, like.
Well,
frankly,
that comes in later with duties of chair, that he or she or they have to keep track of all these things and record attendance. So it comes in later on in the bylaws.
I did add but not limited to,
Yeah.
in case there is the need to.
Yeah, I'm just
extend
wondering
this.
if though that we should reference the board, yeah, like it's whoever is in charge of the committee, right? Because right now it doesn't actually say who's deciding it.
But it does say later on in the bylaw.
Does it, I mean, I know it says under for chair for full board, but does it say for committee chairs?
It lists the committee duties of the committee chair, and one of them is to take attendance.
And does it, okay, then I'll just make a note, and maybe we'll just check to make sure it says or grant an excused absence or something.
I mean, I don't know if we have to go into all these kind of details here, because what's the purpose of this? Defining excused or unexcused absences. The only purpose of this is that someplace down the road, somebody who's been appointed to the community board has only been to 3 meetings in the whole year, and they need to be thrown off the board.
Yeah,
Essentially, that's what this is all about.
right.
And, you know, we want this person to be deleted from the board because they haven't come to any meetings and we have no idea why. You know, that they've never said to us, I have to go to the theater, or I have to get married, or I'm sick, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, I just have a sense that we're spending too much time on this,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, what was it? How many angels dance on the head of it?
That's why I said leaving it
Just
the
leave it.
way it is.
Okay.
It just falls back to the chair to the side.
Right,
I
right.
think that's
Okay.
fine.
All right, then let's leave it. But thank you, Roberta, for the language, including but not limited to. And then we'll also leave the language about that a leave of absence can be granted because we know that they have.
Yeah,
them.
that's fine.
Great. Okay. Then, all right, we'll move along. Let's see. I think we can go down, Roberta, to the next page.
Well, wait, for
Okay.
absence defined in that new parenthetical, either in person
Yeah.
or remotely, I
Oh,
think
right.
you should add after remotely as permitted by law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Great. Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is just boring. This is, that's the sentence that we agreed that we would get rid of.
Mhm.
Okay, now, yeah, if we can stop right there where you are, Roberta, right there is good about the parliamentarian. I just wanted, Wendy reminded me that I think that we had agreed that we can get rid of this section, right? That we don't need a parliamentarian appointed since we don't usually appoint them.
Well, we
Or
haven't
anybody
in a
feels-
long time.
I don't think you've had one since Ed Kirkland was on.
That's the last one we had.
And before
Okay.
him was Doswell.
So nobody
Neither
objects
one
to
of
us
them
getting rid of this?
Coming back.
Okay. Great. All right, then Roberta, onward. Okay, now here's where we get to yeah, perfect. Just if you go like 2 paragraphs lower, Roberta. No, the other way. Yep, good, awesome.
First
Yeah,
vice
the
chair
first
person.
vice chair. So it's funny, this goes back to the attendance question, but I noticed this earlier today and I was like, wait, what? It says that the first vice chair is responsible for overseeing attendance of board members at board and committee meetings
Mhm.
and is supposed to deliver regular written reports to the executive committee.
That's never happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it has during my time, but it's like.
No, never
written
happened to
report
mine.
Written report is a pretty loose term. It's the
Yeah.
first vice chair on occasion has said, yeah, I call the people that need to be called.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we've done that.
Yeah.
But
So
usually-
that's why,
But you usually know who hasn't been coming to meetings. It's usually a
Yeah.
handful of people and you make the
Yeah.
phone calls.
So I think what you did there is fine, Katie.
great, okay. So
Yeah.
we'll just leave it that way. We'll take out the word written. But then Wendy also reminded me that, that maybe it would make sense unless we decide that this is just a practice and that we don't have to record it in the bylaws. But, does it make sense to add something here about the first vice chair also coordinates the public speaker session at every board meeting?
Is that not put in under the?
I
It
think-
is.
I think
on my
that's,
section.
yeah, I think
That
that's
was-
in
yeah.
there in board meetings, in the board meeting section.
But yeah, if you want to add that, that makes sense, just so it lists the full normal set of responsibilities. I think.
Wait, I'm sorry, say it again, Bob. Where is it listed already?
I think when there's the section on how they run the board meetings, there's the public session shall be overseen by the.
It was
Okay.
under the public hearings, the first, under procedures.
Yeah.
It calls it the hearing chairperson presides over the hearing, or whoever the board.
Okay, then, yeah, then Roberta, why don't you click yes here to Wendy's comment and then we'll figure out how to add the language, but we'll copy it from where it is when it's
You're
talking.
just gonna,
about running
yeah, you
board.
just copy it and reference it twice, I guess.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And then on my comment about should we get rid of this paragraph, you can say no. Yeah, because now we've agreed that just taking the word written out fixes it. Okay. And by the way, funnily enough, under duties of the secretaries, it seems that there were some words missing from the bylaws.
The most important part.
Which kind of cracked me up. It just said "and shall," and then it
We
said
like
the
to
minutes
leave it
shall
open
include.
because then we get to tell you whatever we want you to do.
But I decided, what the heck, let's actually complete the sentence. And then here, you know, this is what we talked about before, that we'll figure out between us how we're going to record the minutes. And also, if one of us ends up having to chair the meeting because everybody else on the executive committee, or everybody else elected is not available, then we'll just decide amongst ourselves. And then the other one will record the minutes.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me.
Kind of boring, but there you have it. Okay, good. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, I think I was just, okay. Now we're getting down to election of officers. And I want to make sure that I'm clear on what we agreed to last time. So we said we're still just going to have 1-year terms, that we are going to have a nominating committee, but it's fine with us if the nominating committee starts a month later. And it was fine with us if the nominating committee was 5 people instead of 7.
Yeah, it's hard to get people for the nominating committee, as I recall.
Say it again.
As I recall, it's hard to get people to want to sit on the nominating committee.
Yeah. So, and then we did talk about, well, if it's 5 people, then you're, then 3 people could be deciding it, the majority, as opposed to.
Well, they're not deciding anything. It goes to the full board.
Yeah. So that's why we decided 5 is okay. But then when I was looking at this language, the way it's set up right now, it's like, for the process under D, it's like one thing happens in October, a different thing happens in November, and then a full report is done in December, and then people vote. So as you can see in D1 and 2, I'm wondering, and Jesse, I need your help here, or actually, Alice, were you the one who said you'd said on a nominating committee, or Candace? But
I did.
Can paragraphs 1 and 2 basically happen at the same time at the November meeting?
Now they can. That was separate before because it was 2 different months.
Right. So I figured, obviously we can reword it to make it prettier, but basically.
Yeah. But you got rid of a month, so it can be just one.
We're just going to say, that we'll identify somebody to be each of the candidates, and that we'll give report to the November group, and then also ask if there is any other candidates. So we'll start.
It's fine.
Okay, good. Great. Then I will rewrite that later, and we can fix that. But just want to make sure that
you might as well. We're trying to make the process easier, so might as well make it easier to read too. Yeah,
exactly. So I'll combine 1 and 2 there. Okay. Yeah, in fact, you can even delete that language, Roberta, and then just write like 1 and 2 to be combined in November.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You
made it December.
Yeah, I just added the month since the other ones had the month beforehand.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at this. We literally just got 10 new appointees. I sent the email out welcoming the 10 new appointees, and one of them already wrote back saying, "I'm not going to be able to serve. I'm moving."
Oh, my gosh.
VP's office must be so pissed. They spend all this time picking these people out, and then literally the first day of action, they quit.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, God.
Yeah, see, I have a scenario about that. I can talk to you about what happened at the street fair regarding that.
All right, well, let's do it offline.
Yes, of course.
Wow. All right, so then under voting here, where we are on the page, under paragraph 2, we said, voting for offices shall be by either written, paper, or electronic ballot.
Mhm.
So I think that's probably sufficient at the moment.
That's fine.
And all right, I think we can go to the next page. Oh, yeah. Not. Oh, interesting, Roberta. That's a good question you ask. A quorum shall be a majority of appointed voting members of the board. Frank, what does the law say or the rules say right now about?
The quorum, to be counted as quorum, you have to be present in person or attending virtually because of disability.
And Frank, what is the law specifically? Are you citing the open meetings law, the state law?
Well, it's in both the city and the state law, but it's essentially the same wording.
Okay.
But the state law dictates
Takes precedence.
the city,
Yeah. So we could say.
So can we just quote the state law?
Why don't you
We could reference it.
just reference the law? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just say see whatever.
Link.
Yeah, see the link.
Yes.
And just leave it as a quorum shall be a majority. And then there you go. Put in a link.
Okay.
I always worry all these links in like 2 years and they're all going to go nowhere.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Let's see. Wait, what time is it? Wait, we have just a couple more minutes.
Yeah, well, we got through almost six articles. So
Yeah, and actually, I don't think there's very much that's questionable in 6, is there? Let's look through it quickly, Roberta. Or have you? This is where you had started.
So I just changed mailed because we
Okay.
don't in practice mail agendas. And I just shared with, and then I think we meant to restrict this.
I remember it always being 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think we did agree to change that to 2 minutes.
And then in somewhere we had changed it elsewhere.
But you don't need that discretion to make it 2 minutes anymore.
Yeah, but then actually what they do now is that they make it 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 minute it is.
Great. I'm gonna keep scrolling.
Yep. Yeah, I think this stuff is fairly straightforward. Okay. Then you know what? Let's call it here.
Okay.
It looks like things start again. Okay. Actually, stop there at 8. So sorry, Frank, we didn't get to where you'd started.
Well, actually, I did 7, but had no changes. So
Okay, well, there you go. Then, so if we can all agree, we're going to meet again next on June 5th. If we can all, I think we've all have access to this now, right? If, I'll go in and just tidy up what we've agreed to so far to make it all consistent. But then if we can review the rest and give any comments before the 5th, then hopefully maybe by the 12th, we'll have sort of a final version we can all agree on. review and agree on. That sound good?
Yes.
And I think I would just note that I think the only real substantive thing we didn't go over was just the quorum at executive meetings, which we have discussed. So hopefully it's fairly seamless.
Yeah, that's the thing I added. Right.
Because, hold on, just real quickly, remind me what the issue is here?
To make the quorum, the officers plus one chair of each committee, standing committee.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I put it in 10, what's defined committee meetings, and subsection 3 is quorum. So all the other committees follow the usual way, and then exec has a separate one. So there's a 3B instead of just a 3. It's a 3A and B now.
Got it.
Those are the only changes I made. Everything else you see in my name was just commas missing, a period missing, the word constitution instead of consulted. Things like that. Nothing of any.
Okay.
Does that lock us in? I mean, it means if, both co-chairs of a committee are absent, you don't have a quorum, right?
No, it's just the majority of all of them together.
Oh. I got it. Okay. That's not, okay. I read it differently. Sorry.
Yeah.
Actually, but
make it-
Frank, I think I read it the same way you did. So Bob, how is that not the way to read it? Say it again.
It's a majority of all offices and one. I can put all offices and I don't know. I read it a different way. I'll play with it some more.
Let me ask a question then. Are you intending that to have a quorum, you need at least one chair from each committee to be in the quorum?
Well, it depends. You need a majority of the officers and one chair, whatever
From
that
each of
number
the,
is.
from each of the committees.
Yeah.
So that Frank's issue is clear then. If both chairs are missing, you can't get a quorum.
No, it's all together. Say there's 5 officers and 5 committees, and then you have 10 and 5 is 15. Only 10 count. Only 10 would be used for the quorum, and all you need is 6 to meet the quorum.
I do think we're going to have to rethink this language just to make it clear, Bob.
Yeah.
I can rethink it.
Yeah, because if we're all having doubts, that means other people will also, or misinterpretations.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other things to flag within the document?
We'll pick it up from Article 8 next time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to pick up from Article 8 next time, but we're going to make sure, I mean, obviously, if anybody has looked at stuff earlier and says, hey, by the way, I forgot to mention, I mean,
Now
obviously.
we'll relook at the quorum issue again.
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
I'll rework the language.
Okay.
And Frank, did you have a question?
No, that was from before. I took my hand down.
Okay, got it. All right, look at us. Done by 5:03. Yay, us.
All right.
All right, so I may see some of you at exec in just a little while.
Have
Live.
fun.
All right, and all right, we'll be back in touch. I will see you all on June